On the news this evening, mixed reactions as Rivers State marks 3 months under emergency rule. Group threatens legal action over RISIEC nomination. HA farmers call for government action amid growing herders' tension. President Tinubu queries IGP over no arrests since Benue community attack. On the foreign scene, Iran leader rejects US President Trump's demand for surrender. I'm Sam Chinedu, and the news continues after the break. Today marks 3 months since President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State. The declaration led to the suspension of the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, and state lawmakers. Retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas was then appointed as the sole administrator for 6 months. The president's decision stems from the political crisis between the governor, Fubara, and the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike. One of the mandates of the sole administrator was to restore peace in the state. Ibas has openly admitted that he is on the path to restoring peace. But some Rivers people say his actions are not in tandem with his words, especially with the appointment of local government administrators and other appointments. Some residents of the state also believe that social service is at the lowest ebb since his appointment 3 months ago. Speaking on this, a policy analyst, Dr. Kennedy Allen Nwokoma, says Rivers State has been on autopilot since the state of emergency was declared. Allen Nwokoma said the sole administrator has done nothing to improve the economy of the state and its citizens.
Rivers State is on autopilot. I say this with all sense of responsibility. Crime rate in Rivers State has spiked. Now, social services like environmental sanitation, you find refugees all over the place. So many things that government ought to do are not being done. So I wouldn't say that the government is working. No, I don't think so. If you drive all around Rivers State, you now find increasing potholes on our roads. These are things that we had road maintenance agencies that something that will not cost much. They fill this pothole. But today, those things are not being done.
But a lawyer, Chimenem Wadi, says the bad economy is not limited to only Rivers State, but a global problem.
Income are not even balanced. Generally, things are just skyrocketing. So when you say Rivers State, not only a Rivers State, but in terms of viability, economic viability, I think I would rate 65%. I can tell you for sure, if not that, in the global market, things are skyrocketing. Here in Rivers State, things are equally, people are selling, people are equally buying. So for me, you look at the supply chain and equally look at the demand chain. These things are going on. But I will only judge Rivers State based on the international market. Because if the international scene is okay, the demand is okay, then the supply will be okay.
Mr. Wadi said the administrator has done his best in ensuring peace.
Well, so far so good. I think the other time he went as far as ensuring that there is accountability in most of the projects. Well, there are some internal overt and covert moves that are going on. He can't do it alone. Like I cited, subject to the National Assembly, he has to work with them. He doesn't take unicameral decision, subject to Mr. President. And I think there are internal moves as to resolve most of these things. And I can tell you, these are long-time crises. Alone cannot do it. But so far so good, where he has gone to, most of the media interview granted by him, he has said, look, I want peace, I want democracy, that the governor to come back.
In another development, River State Civil Society Organization, RIV CSO, has faulted the nomination of Michael O'Day, an indigene of Cross River State, as chairman of the Royal State Independent Electoral Commission, RISIEC. In an interview with our correspondent, Ifechukwu, the chairman of RIVSCO, Enefort George Will, argued that since the declaration of an emergency rule in the state, in their view, illegal, any appointments made by the current administration, including that of RISIEC, are equally unlawful. George Will said the organization is prepared to explore all available legal channels to challenge the nomination.
But all the actions taken by the solar administrator, taken by the president, is illegal. And if, for the purpose of analysis, both in terms of the appointment of the solar administrator, or even the boss as constituted by either the president or the solar administrator, as far as we are concerned, it is illegal and alien to our laws. And also the civil society will do it to challenge using all legal instruments, including going to court and street protestation and every other means that they treat.
George Will, however, clarified that he is not opposed to non-indigenes occupying leadership positions in government agencies, provided they reside in River State, conduct business, and pay taxes within the state.
It is important that those who live here, who reside here, who pay tax here, who are doing business here, should be appointed to exalted positions, elected positions in the state. Just even if it is either by election or by appointment. It is to this extent that I am arguing that even Rivers people who are not born here, who don't pay taxes here, but stay abroad, shouldn't be appointed and elected into public office in Rivers or any other state for that matter.
Still on this, the secretary of the Obedient Movement in River State, Gogo Wellington, says the Labour Party and other stakeholders have vowed to boycott any elections and activities to be done by the sole administrator in the state. Wellington, who spoke to correspondent Suebi Ruwari, said it as a big political joke and disrespect to Rivers people to have a non-indigene nominated as RISIEC chairman.
Is a very huge slap in the faces of Rivers people. Rivers State is too big and too important in the scheme of things of a country like Nigeria for things like this to be happening. How can someone that is not from Rivers State to head the Electoral Commission? We will not be a part of any process that emerges or comes out of it. The stakeholders of the Labour Party in Rivers State, the leadership of the Labour Party in Rivers State, the leadership of the Obedient Movement in Rivers State will not be a part of any process, any illegal process initiated by sole administrator in Rivers State.
The Senate today started the screening of 17 nominees forwarded by President Bola Tinubu for confirmation to oversee critical institutions in Rivers State, including the Independent Electoral Commission, the Civil Service Commission, and the Local Government Service Commission. The screening, conducted by the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Oversight of Emergency Rule in Rivers State, is being led by the Senate leader and chairman of the committee, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele. He said all nominees completed the constitutionally required asset declaration with the Code of Conduct Bureau and were cleared by both the Department of State Services, DSS, and the Nigeria Police Force. Away from that, some farmers in the Odagwa community in Eche local government area have called on the River State government to intervene in the ongoing tensions between farmers and herders in the area by relocating them out of the community. A farmer, Mrs. Monica Agbam, tells correspondent Martha Okere that she cannot go to her farm freely without being chased by herders wielding knives. Agbam said farmers are afraid that the extent of the farmer-herder clashes in Benue State might happen in River State. She said the situation has affected their livelihood.
We know they enter our farm freely that again because of them. Because they will carry their cow and enter our farm. If you shout, what are you doing? I carry your cow now come out. They will bring us their back and start chasing us inside bush. Sometimes it's only you. They will rape you inside bush. They will put your cassava and give their cow. We are not safe at all. In our land, we are not safe at all. If you talk, they will be after you. They will be chasing you. Let them leave our community so that we can plant and eat and train our children. It's the only source of income that we have.
Another farmer who spoke anonymously narrated how half of her farm was destroyed by grazing cattle and said women go to their farms in groups due to fears of possible confrontation with herders.
The women are suffering after cultivating and planting. You see them carrying their llamas to uproot the cassava women planted. As long as you're alone in the farm, you can't talk. As you see them destroying the thing, you be telling them, please leave now. Last year, half of the farm I planted, even the headman, I took the man there, he was on his knees pleading. I said, you are pleading, what will I eat with my children? Half of the farm was destroyed by llama. I don't know what to do, nobody to fight for me. I just left it for God. They should leave, because the more they are here, they will continue to destroy something.
As you may know, Eche local government area is known for producing one of Nigeria's staple foods known as garri and plantain. Recently, there have been meetings in the area between state government representatives led by the State Commissioner of Police, CP Olugbenga Adepoju, local authorities, herders, and farmers. The meetings are to resolve rising tensions between farmers and herders and kidnappings in the area. Meanwhile, a Muslim leader in River State, Mr. Danliti Aliyu, says the tension between farmers and herders in parts of the state, particularly in Eche local government area, will not escalate into widespread conflict as seen in Benue State, because the state government and security agencies are on alert. Aliyu, who is also the secretary of the Association for the Removal of Innovation and the establishment of Sunnah in River State, made this known in an interview with correspondent Martha Okere. He called on the state government to strengthen partnerships with faith-based organizations because they amplify government policies and programs down to the grassroots.
The perpetrators of these men are from both religious practices. There is no way you can remove one blood from the other. But then, Islamization has gone far and wide to make sure that they bring them into meetings. It's not just bringing their leaders like saying, Miyati Allah. No. You will need to move to the grassroots and meet with every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's involved in the business, because we need to enjoy the relative peace we are enjoying in the state, and it should continue and be upheld.
Danliti Aliyu also said the communique was sent last year to suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara on how to tackle farmer-herders clashes in Ahoda, Ikwere, Eche, and other local government areas.
Farmers have to actually grow their crops. The herders have to also rear their cattle. Sometimes you buy them on an immature level, and you want to graze them up to produce so that you can just slaughter and make out money. But we should have a place to pay these animals. And in case we are liaising with the community, there are community leaders. This is all included in the report sent to the government. Look for the community leaders, talk with them, and see if they can rent out or give a particular portion of land for these people to graze their animals, and peace will reign.
In the meantime, a security expert, Phyllis Ogbaudu, called on the federal government to introduce a strict grazing policy. Speaking in an interview with correspondent Emeka Otoka, Ogbaudu, a retired assistant inspector general of police, said open grazing should be stopped completely, as it is one of the major causes of the repeated clashes. He said grazing should be restricted to designated areas.
The point is that let us identify cattle rearing areas, grazing areas, and these guys should be restricted to those areas. If you come to Abuja here, you'll be surprised. You see cows being moved around at the center of the city, and that's very embarrassing. So they should identify grazing zones where they should be restricted to. You cannot be moving out to the town. Therefore, the one that never come out with their cows. If you are no longer interested in grazing because if you kept somewhere, come out and look for something else to do. So that's it.
Another security expert, Ife Wanago, says ethnic bias and lack of political will are major obstacles to solving the problem. He described the president's call for the Benue State governor to engage in dialogue as a sign of government's failure to protect its citizens.
It's gone too many, basically, that happened for far too long. And I think what is lacking is because of the perspective of ethnic coloration. And I perceive that the political will to address this matter head-on is a problem. That's what is lacking by virtue of the fact that this nation, this is basically a failure of the security architecture and a failure of government to protect the citizens of Benue. Another part of Nigeria. Benue should have been a place where security is on full alert until you think you have had reasonable peace.
Still to come, President Tinubu queries IGP over no arrests since Benue community attack. Stay tuned. President Bola Tinubu has queried the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, over the failure of officers to apprehend perpetrators of the recent deadly attacks in Benue State. Speaking at a stakeholders meeting in Makurdi today, President Tinubu said he expected the police to have made some arrests after the attack in Yelwata, a community in Guma local government area of Benue State, which led to the killing of over 100 people.
How come no arrest has been made? Police, I hope your men are on alert to listen to information. How come no arrest has been made? I expect there should be arrests of those criminals. Let's get those criminals, let's get them out, and let's have tangible intelligence that this will not occur again.
President Tinubu called for the setting up of a committee made up of past state governors and leaders whose core mission would be to work tirelessly to restore and maintain peace in the state.
I heard from Dr. Jesus about land grabbing. If we learn how to share, we have enough land to feed, to raise our children, to cultivate happiness and prosperity. We will change that attitude of hate. Let us please find a way to form a committee of elders here. That committee to comprise those who had governed this state before. We meet in Abuja to really fashion out the nucleus of a lasting peace. And I'm ready to invest in that peace.
Earlier, some residents of Makurdi had questioned the purpose of President Tinubu's visit.
When they tell our president say we don't get food, we don't reduce. We get this kind of security. We get this kind of security. Now they come to raise those people who don't die. That campaign they can't do. I say, but the man when they come, waiting they come to do. Now my question, how they waiting to come to do? The purpose of coming. It's coming for campaign. Those people who die now, those people will come up, then will rise again. The people now will come out alive. Now make it carry. If you come now, those people not go wake up. That's why we don't even need them. We don't need them. Now what I want to know. I've been going. Nobody gets up from Makurdi for Benue.
He's coming.
Everywhere killing. Not only TV people that they kill, then they kill both people. So we are not happy.
Moving on, dispatch riders in Port Harcourt say they have held discussions with the Permanent Secretary of River State Ministry of Transport and Chief Vehicle Inspection Officer to address key challenges affecting their operations in the state. This development comes after a protest held yesterday, during which the riders decried what they described as unnecessary demands by task force officials. Speaking with our correspondent, a Board of Trustees member of the Port Harcourt Logistics Owners Association, Mr. Victor Omelo, said the outcome of the meeting includes agreements such as the elimination of requirements for fire extinguishers and first aid kits, as well as a reduction in excessive fines.
They were not aware of some of the things we were facing. We had a consensus and we agreed on many modalities. I think the decisions that we agreed on, it's favorable for us on the time being. We agreed on then checking the right thing, which are the papers, vehicle license, roadworthy certifications, and insurance with the MOT. They also decided to bring back the jacket that the former administration brought in for easier identification of logistics riders. So somehow we agreed that the task force would abide strictly to these approved papers and check for the validity online.
Mr. Omelo called for the agreements to be implemented in practice, not just on paper. The Chief Vehicle Inspection Officer in River State, Akobo Monibo, says issues raised by e-hailing riders over levies imposed by the VIO have been resolved. Monibo made this known to correspondent Emeka Otuka.
There was a resolution yesterday. They pleaded that the fine is outrageous, and we looked at it and we took a stand now. They said this is what it can pay. The government looked into it. So there is an agreement now, a fixed price for such offenses. So it is 15,000 naira per bike. If you don't have any of this paper or all of this paper, it's 15,000. That is the fine that the ministry agreed that should be collected on them. The permanent secretary was there when this meeting was holding, and he oversees the meeting. So the people at the end of it, every one of them was happy that thank God there's a resolution like this. And
Mr. Monibo also accused some e-hailing riders of falsifying documents and warned against such practices.
A lot of them forge papers, going to the right way to do it, they will not. They rather cut corners, and those papers they do are not in the system. So we have told them to put their papers in order, which was amicably settled.
On the issue of having a first aid box in a vehicle, Mr. Moneyball said having a first aid box in a vehicle is not a legal requirement, but recommended for commercial vehicles across states. He also clarified that there is no law or court order stopping the VIO from operating in Rivers State. He urged motorists to report any misconduct by VIO officials to their office located at the Rivers State Transport Company premises at Waterlines. On the international scene, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has rejected U.S. President Donald Trump's demand for unconditional surrender today. It comes as President Trump said he's patient, so he knows as to what his next step would be. On the news this evening, you heard there are mixed reactions as Rivers State marks 3 months under emergency rule. A group has threatened legal action over RISIAC chairman's nomination. HA farmers are calling for government action amid growing herders' tensions. President Tinubu has queried the IGP over no arrests since Benue community attack. Iran leader has rejected U.S. President Trump's demand for surrender. The news was edited by Martha Okere. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Sam Chinedu. Thanks for listening.